because what we've seen, unfortunately, over the past 2 months is I went to Istanbul and had a meeting with President Erdogan, and because what we've seen, unfortunately, over the past 2 months is I went to Istanbul and had a meeting with President Erdogan, and it was, I thought it was a good meeting, but then, you know, reduce toxicity. We're leaders when it comes to regulation of the digital ecosystem, but we can do more to work also with the big, you know, tech companies to make sure that hate speech, misinformation, disinformation does not become, you know, a part of the online dialogue, because unfortunately that is what we have to deal with. And sort of
let's also be clear. The future is not just happening. The future is built by us, by a powerful community as you here in this room. We have the means to improve the state of the world. But 2 conditions are necessary. The first one is that we act all as stakeholders of larger communities, that we serve not our only self-interests, but we serve the community. That's what we call stakeholder responsibility. And second, that we collaborate. And this is the reason why you find many opportunities here during the meeting to engage into very action and impact-oriented initiatives to make progress related to specific issues on the global agenda.
We're developing, through technology, an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? That's, where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So, individual carbon footprint tracker.
I wanted to ask when you all think we're going to move from this form factor to something that's on your face, glasses, and when computing's all on the edge.
All right, 50 seconds. Who wants to answer quickly?
I think it will go. It will. First of all, it will definitely happen. I was talking about 6G earlier, which is around 2030. I would say that by then, definitely the smartphone as we know it today will not anymore be the usual kind of the most common interface.
Wow.
Many of these things will be built directly into our bodies.
And one of the important statements we've, I think, made at our most recent developers conference is that we believe that one of the big advantages of augmented reality is actually solving problems here on Earth, and it will be things like having glasses and being able to translate as you speak with glasses, and those are very close.
Holograms will be very, very high quality in the era of 6G. I've already seen 5G-based hologram demonstrations. They already work. But then with the next generation technology, I mean, we could be having this meeting so that in reality we would be sitting in different parts of the world.
We have a central bank digital coin out there in the world that is being utilized on a daily basis, whether it's wholesale or retail, and it becomes a superior system. Francois, yes or no?
We have several experiments which are not very far from that. Yeah. They are not yet generalized, but they could be, let's say, the next 3 years, probably. It will go quicker on the wholesale side, yes, I guess, because it raises less sensitive questions.
Yes. Axel.
No, I'm quite glad to hear what you're saying, François, on the wholesale digital currency, not coin. I am also a believer that will come in 5 years, yes. What I try to say is obviously, we still have those huge legacy environment. They need to migrate as well, so we will not yet see all the benefits coming through, but it will come and will be much more efficient, also probably much more secure, lowering transaction costs. On the retail side, I'm much more skeptical. Certainly call it for the established economies.
There's also a question on Slido about the use and implementation of a global vaccine passport. Now, we're not talking about the past so much as the future, but does anybody on the panel have a thought about whether or not vaccine passports are valuable in the context of pandemic preparedness and prevention?
I'm not sure necessarily about a passport, but I think what would be useful would be to have global standards of certification and global standards established as to what qualifies as protection. I think would be useful. So there's probably work to be done in this space.
Yeah, it'd be more valuable if you had an infection-blocking vaccine. I mean, the idea of checking if people are vaccinated, if you have breakthrough infections, what's the point? But the data system, some countries did a very good job on being able to verify vaccinated status. The U.S. did not, but there's some great examples. Even India did a fantastic job on that.
We have to believe that it's possible to stop a localized outbreak becoming a raging global pandemic. And that means better surveillance, more transparency, frankly, by all member states. If they think something's happened, it's got to be reported. And the WHO needs the power to be on the site with whatever teams need to be deployed. It needs to be able to publish the information it has rather than beg countries for permission to do it. It's got to be able to take a precautionary approach in running up a flag. And it's got to be able to declare an emergency without being kneecapped by an emergency committee. These are basic things that need to be dealt with in a review of the international health regulations. Otherwise, we will lose weeks again next time something happens.
So you are becoming really a global health provider. And
unfortunately, I wish to be able to do that. I don't think I will be able to do it alone. So that's why I'm calling everyone that has something to offer in that space, the World Health Organization, the Bill Gates Foundation, the Carter Foundation, other organizations, non-governmental, Doctors Without Borders, that they have resources there. We would like to partner together so they can do diagnosis, we can give the medicines.
Like Gavi, which
Gavi, for example, has made a huge difference in the world. The biggest product of Gavi, the one that according to Gavi and Bill Gates have saved more lives, it is a pneumococcal vaccine that we are providing.
Let's say the founder was Bill Gates, but it was originated here. Actually, Gavi was born here.
He always says that when he speaks. He says that was here in Davos, mate.
Davos, yeah. It's a Davos child, if I may say so. And we have many children.
Surprisingly, not surprisingly, but thank God, we bonded immediately with Ugur Sahin, who is the founder. And it is amazing because I'm Greek and Jew and he's Turk and Muslim. But these were days of darkness with no hope in the horizon. So people were afraid that the civilization, the way we know it, could disappear. That was a tremendous weapon in my effort to convince everyone that we need to go about making the impossible possible, because there are a lot at stake. And then, surprise, surprise, they made the impossible possible. Now, on the second question, we are afraid of a new, very different virus that would come, and to have now all these examples with the monkey pox. I don't think we should be afraid, but I think we should be prepared.
Now, some people may argue you have now these new treatments. Some people may argue, why should I get vaccinated if there is a treatment? Well, how would you respond?
Because I think the goal is not for you to get sick and then treat you. The goal is to prevent the sickness. And that will maximize your chances to do well, and that will maximize the chances of people that you love not to get infected. You vaccinate not only for yourself, you vaccinate also to protect society, and particularly to protect those that you love the most, because they are the ones that you are together.
When you get the conditional approval or preliminary approval, who is actually carrying the risk and the liability if something is happening? I mean, if it's not working out well.
Most countries, they identify that. In the US and in Europe was always clearly identified, so they are taking the liability if there are lawsuits, for example, against that.
So the government is taking the liability?
It is. It was some issue with the US and Europe were ready for that already, but I think most of the issues were with some countries that were not familiar with that. We took what was our concern with the vaccine. It's not with any other medicines. For example, now we don't ask anyone to do anything on liabilities, but with the vaccine, that we knew that there is a very fanatic group of anti-vaxxers that will go after us no matter what. They will claim that the sun didn't go up because people were vaccinated, and that created issues with the crop, so I'm suing you. And one thing it is to sue you in the US, another thing is to sue you in a country where the legal system is not up to that standards, or in Switzerland, right? So I think that's behind us. Everything went okay, and now I think we can move on.
The importance of addressing the concerns that Turkey has raised. Turkey is an important ally. Their strategic geographic location is important for the whole alliance, bordering Iraq and Syria. They have been key in the fight against ISIS, Daesh. Black Sea nation, close to Russia in the Black Sea. Then, of course, we have to remember that no other NATO ally has suffered more terrorist attacks than Turkey, and no other NATO ally hosts more refugees than Turkey. So we have to sit down and find a way forward, and I'm confident that we will do so.
Entire team walking back to the car after what I would call a long 3 days of chasing down elites at the World Economic Forum here in Davos. Mate, Lewis, last 3 days, what have you learned?
Well, I think I've learned a massive positive, okay, and that's this year's narrative or theme is all about regaining trust, which paints the picture that people don't trust them. So I take that as a big positive.
People, 3 long days, what have you taken away?
I think my biggest takeaway, Avi, is that we're essentially living in the globalist ideal world, right? They're far away from the people. They are pushing all of this digital central banking and metaverse on us, but are they taking part in that? Are they a part of that in their every single day lives? On top of that, they have approved press here, which is why, again, go to wefreports.com, because we're some of the only journalists that are actually on the ground confronting these elites, these globalists that are trying to push these bad ideologies on us, these bad policies on us. So, you know, I've just really learned the importance of, 1, independent media, and 2, that if the World Economic Forum had their way, this is what our world would look like. They would be somewhere remote, far away from the people. We would be suffering from their bad policy, and they would be sipping champagne on the streets.
What have you learned in the last 3 days here?
Well, if I had to sum up the last 3 days, it would be hypocrisy, and a bit more hypocrisy. We've had lecturing us on climate change while flying in by private jets and having cars after cars after cars. We've had wanting to implement digital ID and more surveillance while hiding behind their little sheltered area back there. So, you know, the rich get private lives, but the poor don't. There's guards here armed to the teeth, but they don't like gun control. So they've really reflected the annual WF motto, which is rules for thee, but not for me. Another thing is that there's almost no world leaders here, so they must know that we're onto them.
Yeah, I would like to follow up what Lewis said. the theme is working together to regain trust. And what have they done to lose our trust? They locked us in our house for 2 years. They took away our jobs. They mandated dubious medical interventions. And after speaking to them, I learned how ignorant they are of this fact of why trust was lost. Not one time from speaking to all of these attendees that I spoke to did any of those things come up. They're clueless why trust was lost. They don't know. So the clueless of the elites is definitely on display here at the World Economic Forum.
Well, there you have it. And I guess what I learnt most from being here is that the elites consider this a safe space for them, and they are absolutely shocked when independent journalists hit them with the tough questions. Now, all of this is only possible with your support at wefreports.com. Watch the reports, share them all, and help fund our independent journalism here in Davos.